I was terrified when all of a sudden I felt my dad's big, strong hand grab me. As a youngster, I got a really good look at my dad's hands. I would sit there next to him in church, Sunday in and Sunday out, curled up next to him, and he'd rest his hand on my knee or throw his arm over my shoulder so that his hand would be sitting about here. I couldn't see over the row in front of us, so I'd stare at the hymnal, I'd stare at those little envelopes you gave money in, or I'd stare at his hands. What I remember of my dad's hands is that they were big and strong and gnarled and weathered by years of hard work in the sun. My dad worked hard from the time he was just a little guy. With those hands, my dad provided for me and my 5 siblings, and our mother put a roof over our heads and food on the table. But he didn't just provide for us. From time to time, those hands would be applied to my behind in discipline. Although I'll be honest here and say that as the baby, I got away with a lot. His hands not only provided and disciplined, but saved. It was almost 60 years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. We were on a rare outing at a little lake, Lake Gregory near Crestline. And I was playing in the water, maybe 4 or 5 years old. I couldn't swim. Suddenly found myself in water over my head. I couldn't catch a breath. I started gulping water. If you've ever felt this, you know how quickly terrifying that feeling is. I was terrified when all of a sudden I felt my dad's big, strong hand grab me and lift me up out of that water so fast it felt like there were rockets attached to my feet. Oh, was I thankful for my dad's hands in that moment. I've been thinking about hands because I'm watching mine deteriorate, curling up and losing strength and dexterity. I have a hard time squeezing the toothpaste tube now, let alone hugging my wife and kids or picking up my grandchildren. But you know, that's okay. As ALS does its nasty work, I am reminded that I'm in much better hands than my own, certainly, and even my dad's. I belong to the Lord, and I'm counting on His promise in 1 Peter 5. He says there, humble yourself under the mighty hand of the Lord, and in due time, He will lift you up. All right, now I'm being humbled by the disease, humiliated. But that's okay. In a day to come, God promises that He's going to raise me up again. What about you? Are you suffering from a disease or a disability, some great disappointment? Perhaps you didn't know the appropriately affectionate hand of a loving father, as I was blessed to do. Maybe your father used his hands to push you away or even to abuse you. I'm so sorry about that. But I pray that because of that, you won't reject the hand of God, as demonstrated especially in the hands and feet of Jesus, who suffered and died on our behalf, that the gap between our sin and His holiness might be bridged, that we could have a relationship with Him, not just now, but forever, for eternity. And remember, eternity begins now. It doesn't start when we die. It's a relationship that goes on forever. That passage in Peter continues, cast all your anxieties on him, for he cares for you. What a great promise. It's where I'm landing at this season of my life with my wife. It's where I pray that you too will find your hope in spite of circumstances that may be very, very difficult.